Hey, Pat Barrett again. After a few days' absence, we are dealing with a very, very common crime, fraud, the defrauding digitally of elderly people who we're not so familiar with the digital universe, the computers, IT, blah, blah, blah. So we got hit real hard, and we've been dealing with this for a year and almost a year and a half. But so I can't get to this every day like I'd like to. But today I got a good thing from the Civic and, well, first of all, this is my shirt here, Cedal again, the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership. There is an organization called Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, CEBV. It's local, Arizona. And today I'm going to try this balance that I try to get. I started out in TikTok working for campaigns in Arizona. So I try to keep things local. I would like to maintain, if I could get those folks back to me, some of the people that subscribed to me back then, to talk about Arizona politics. I'm going to do that today. We're going to look at some bills that are upcoming. And CEBV gives you all kinds of information about that. And I want to run over them. The other side of it is the more political science side, the broader national, even world picture of what these things are about, why these people are doing this. Now, CEBV recommends vote for this one, but not that one, etc. On this one, she said, we'll make it easy. I say she, I think a lady is behind some of this. She said that you just don't vote for any of them. Well, it makes it easy, right? Don't vote for any of them. But I want to look at why these are bad bills. Behind me, my energy drink, coffee. And next to that, by the way, is a ceremonial mask made by a friend of mine who lives in Mexico. He is, I may have mentioned this before, in Mexico, I talk about identity politics. If you're indigenous, if you're a member of a tribe, you get an identity card that allows you to sell your product, your art product, whatever it is, in public. And if you go to Mexico as a tourist, you go to the beaches, you will find those people, Mexican citizens. Otherwise, if they don't have a tribal identity, they cannot sell publicly like that. They have to have a store that has a license and all that. The ID card is their license. Well, and that's artist's name, by the way, is Felipe Horta, and he lives in Tocuaro, Mexico, in the state of Michoacan, if you're interested. He has a website, by the way. I'd be nice to go there and maybe buy some things. Tell him that you ran into Pat Barrett online. He'll remember Patricio. So the first one is deals exactly with this ID, showing your ID thing. And it is to make people show a, quote, valid U.S. government issued proof of identity. And we haven't had to do that before. We do that with a driver's license, say that when we register to vote. But if you're registered, you've been identified, right? And again, time after time, all the investigations show any genuine fraud is exceedingly, vanishingly rare. Okay, now, so this, by the way, would really affect mail-in ballots. And I think the majority of people now vote by mail. Well, how are you going to show your ID if, Anyway, why? Why is this? Aha. And CEBV provides this. It opens the door for the legislature to limit or ban early and mail-in voting. Why do they want to do that? And that goes to my epiphany one day, Chris Hayes, one of the anchors on MS Now, it was a couple of years ago, he said in one sentence, the goal of conservative judges is to limit the franchise. In other words, reduce the number of people who can vote. That's their goal. That's conservatism. Limit the people who can participate in the society, who have a say. That's where this bill is going. So you got to know the story behind the story. Another one is vouchers. That attacks our public education system, and that's another theme in, I don't want to say conservatism, that's too broad, but the kind of conservatism the right wing possesses in this country, going into libertarianism. They don't like anything public. They don't like, they don't like taxes. They don't like having to pay taxes to build public things like roads and so forth. The next time you go up to a stoplight and it turns red and you stop, or yours goes green and the other direction it turns red and they stop, thank the government for that. That's a law. And those lights are installed according to rules established by the government. Well, who pays for all that? Our taxes. Conservatives don't like taxes because they have their own money and they have maybe a chauffeur, they have drivers, they have servants. I don't want to really get too deep into this, but so they're trying to destroy public education. And the one way to do it is to provide these vouchers. And charter schools is behind all of that. And I've spent some time on charters. But if, and their excuse is a pretense, a facade, that it protects scholarships for military families, but that's, vouchers are vouchers, and the purpose of them is to lure people away from public schools. Your local public school, you'll see if they're losing students, they get less money, and eventually some of them downright close, and that's happened in California for sure a number of times. Another one is creating a lot of limits on how educators, specifically teachers, can organize and bargain collectively. Unions, it's just another way of saying unions, okay? And I was a teacher for 25 years, 20 of them in a public school, 5 in a private religious school. And fortunately for us, it was not written in a very competent fashion. Therefore, they, without meaning to, included police unions and firefighter unions. And they're all against this too, and those are very powerful lobbies. And so the Arizona Education Association and so forth are working for this. It's the, let me look at it. No, I can't. American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. AFSCME. That's a AFSCME. We call it AFSCME for short. Okay, now moving right along. Oh my God, this trans things. These people are just, anything to do with sex drives them crazy. And this has to do with using trans youth from using school bathrooms and changing facilities that align with their gender identities. Now, for the few individuals this applies to, it's a major issue. And what you need is, at the school site, you need people to intelligently deal with this issue. If there's an issue with a student or something, it needs to be dealt with intelligently. And that's what counselors are for, by the way, to help students sort this thing out. And there may be some students that object to a trans person. Some of them object to people being trans, period. Anyway, that's a whole other issue. Now, the last one I'm going to deal with, I'm getting kind of late here. Oops, 10 minutes. I try not to go any longer than that. But this, CEBV says outright, this bill, House Continuing Resolution, I won't give numbers because those change, which would embed racism in the Arizona State Constitution by banning any consideration of race, sex, ethnicity, color, or national origin in public education, employment, or contracting. Well, this is an old technique that these people have used. Oh, we're colorblind. We are not racist. It's those liberals over there making laws about people in different races and things. Well, of course, we've had a long history, which I've probably the major theme of my videos is the role of racism in this country. And we've set up different ways. Some people disagree, some don't. We fight over it. That's democracy. We've tried to find some ways to make up for things that happen to people like my wife that I've talked about and what her background when she grew up in a segregated society as a young black woman. Those are all being fought against, and I would hope you would find your local organization, whether it be education, firefighters, etc., to help their unions combat these things, support your local public school, etc., and support me by saying like and commenting. So give me some feedback. I really appreciate it. And I'm getting long, so I'm going to stop. And subscribe if you can. Goodbye.